Welcome to the TotalMD electronic health record. To access the patient list, simply go to Patients. From here you can start up an encounter just by clicking onto a patient record, right-clicking, and clicking New Encounter. From here you can choose a template. Here I have a history template that we can use. Next we can put in a chief complaint. For example, let's see that somebody came in with some low back pain. So we'll put in low back pain. Say this is for our second provider on our list that's seeing the patient. And as the medical assistant, we're capturing this information. Maybe the patient recently was seen at the hospital or came to us from another physician. We can indicate that here. We can also indicate if we perform medication reconciliation and the date that we did it. If information was not captured for meaningful use on language, ethnicity, or race, you can capture that here. Let's say that we have somebody who is more than one race. Down here we can put in some information about the patient's blood pressure and vitals. Next we can drop into our medical history. If you're the medical assistant, you might be capturing some of this information. So let's just drop into our medical history. You'll notice that down in the lower right hand corner you have this little control box where we can click on this top line, which will prompt us with a list of diseases. In the prompt of diseases, I can go ahead and click on diabetes, put in a year that started. And let's say there's a couple of problems. Let's say there's also some hypertension. And let's say there's another problem. Let's say we'd like to change our list here, so we're going to change the answer to include another item like obesity. I just completely changed the template going forward so that this will automatically come up on all of my new lists. So it's very easy to customize and change our templates. Next, let's drop into our surgical history. So again, I have a short list of surgeries that I use frequently, so I can put in an appendectomy. Let's say that happened in 1989. And let's say they've also had a tonsillectomy. Next, let's drop into the social history. Let's say the patient has some smoking. I guess this is a former smoker, but if we wanted to choose current smoker, we could choose packs per day. With alcohol, we can automatically drop into different options for alcohol. Depending on where you're at, there might be different trends or cultural norms. Let's say that we're in the Wine Valley. I'll add another item on to this list. We'll put in then we'll jump to our review of systems. TotalMD gives you the option to click through your data entry by double-clicking No Complaints on each of the systems, or you can choose the item that makes sense. For example, we can choose Patient Admits on musculoskeletal and finish that sentence for that system. Then we can hit the period to end that, and then we can move back to No Complaints for the remaining systems. Next, we can drop into our assessment. Under our assessment, I have an exam template that we can use. Here I can indicate male. I can put in within normal limits for a lot of my systems. And let's say we get down to our abdomen, we have a couple of problems. I can simply double click on the second line, which allows me to type whatever I want. Next, we can click on within normal limits on some of our other items, or we can even check some of the systems that we'd like to review, and we can add those to a list. So here I can choose several statements, and that builds an entire sentence just by double clicking on those words. That allows me to finish up my examination. Next, I can drop into my diagnosis. Let's say that I've got a diagnosis I'd like to use. I've also got some unused diagnoses. We've already chosen type 2 diabetes. Let's say we also wanted to add something else, maybe some COPD. Notice that this SNOMED chooser comes up. If you choose a common ICD-9 code that's linked to many SNOMED codes, which are basically a higher level of specificity for diagnosis, you can click on that, and then you can choose the item that applies, and then it will add it to the list. Down under cognitive and functional status, I can choose from a list. Under the plan, I can put in an assessment and plan. And there are multiple ways to create our notes. One of the options is just to spit out some text. So here I've got an assessment and plan section that was spit out from the system, or generated by the system. And I can go into this pull down list and indicate what I'd like to put into the note. And we can put in a name of a drug that we'd like to prescribe. And we can choose the appropriate tablet. And we can put in the signature information. And that will add it to my prescription list. Next, we can add in some care plan information. If we'd like to add a care plan, just right click. Let's say we're recommending some weight loss. It's now been documented. As part of our orders, on the Notes and Review tab, you can choose a code. And on the Orders tab, you can go in and choose a diagnosis, indicate if there's an in-house order, if there's an out-of-office order, you can do that here as well. Say we would like to order an A1C for this patient. You can also order radiology tests and referrals. Say we'd like to send the patient to the endocrinologist across town. And that finishes up the note. So from here we have a complete note, vitals, recent medications, allergies, history of present illness, surgical history, social history, review of systems, examination, information on their cognitive and functional status, assessment and plan, care plans, along with goals that you can customize, and then final diagnosis on the visit, as well as a procedure code. Once you're finished with the note, you can sign the note and print a clinical summary by checking this checkbox. Here's our clinical summary. That makes that process very easy. This is one of the most difficult things to do for meaningful use, because you have to do it within 3 days for all patients, or depending on the stage that you're in, 50% of your patients in stage 1. Next, you can go up to Activities and go to the Provider Dashboard. This will allow you to run a dashboard for the patients for meaningful use. So here I can check off the stages and measures for meaningful use that I'd like to run. So I'm going to mark these stage 1 and core requirements to run, and then I'm going to choose a date range, including today's date. I can choose any date range, whether it's 90 days or a full year. I can then run the measures, and then I can see that I ran 18 measures, and of those, 9 of them passed. Here I can click on View Measures. Here I can see which of those passed. And if I want to dive into a measure to see what was wrong or what I didn't quite do correctly, let's say I wanted to jump into this medication allergy list measurement, which is supposed to be at 80%, I'm only at 50%. I can then click on Details, and then it will tell me why a measure didn't pass. For example, for this patient, there was no alert. This was for a medication allergy, so there was no medication allergy entered for that patient. Let's choose another one. For example, let's choose our clinical summaries, which we also failed. So let's click on Details, and then we can see each one of the patients that were in that measure that we didn't pass. So these patients did not have clinical summaries generated for them. And that's our Meaningful Use dashboard. For more information, please contact us at 1-800-613-7597.